Hi, I'm Liv, and welcome back to the Book Nook. Hey guys, so sorry about the mile a minute nature of the last video, but stay tuned for another one because the other reason I'm talking at a mile a minute is I'm also trying to beat the light before I lose it completely, because although I plan to film both of these videos at like lunchtime today, I didn't. So let's have a look at what I have acquired for myself during this indeterminate time frame of a month or more. Now I'm going to start with some that are more recent. Actually no, I'm not, because I was going to do it and it already made me itchy the thought of doing it, so I'm just going to go back in time for a little minute. So, first book on this stack of acquisitions is An Island by Karen Jennings. This was long-listed for the Booker Prize. This was the one that seemed to... I don't know what's going on with my positioning. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go the other side. An Island by Karen Jennings. This was long-listed for the Booker. This is one that was barely picked up anywhere, and there was only a print run of like 500 copies. It wasn't really going anywhere, and then it got long-listed, and then it's been in and out of print, and I've heard mixed things, I would say, but I'm excited to give it a go. I'm always intrigued by these little ones that get picked up by the Booker, especially when the shortlist ends up being the big six. Next up, I picked up a copy of Faber's reissued Mrs. Caliban by Rachel Ingles. This is a story about a woman who falls in love with a frogman. Very intrigued by this little novella, first published in 1982 and picked up by Faber for a reissue. They are going to be doing some more reissues of some other ones which look really interesting, but this is the first, and very intrigued. Also, cover, gorgeous. Next up is a copy of a book that my friend has lent me. Thanks, Annie. We are now finally here in our friendship that we can lend books. I'm not lending you any of mine, I'm sorry, I love you. Peter Ackroyd's Mr. Cadmus. I have never read any of Peter Ackroyd's stuff, and what's he... Holy shit, he's written a lot, guys. Oh yeah, I've got a copy of Queer City on my shelf, but not read it yet. So I've never read any Peter Ackroyd, and she recommended me this one because it is set down here in Southwest, and it's all like Devony and weird, and she thought she was interested to see what I would make of it. So yeah, I'm gonna see what this Devon Bay's like at some point. I can't stop now. I can't. Bugger. Next up, a copy of a book which you probably all knew I was going to buy, and that is River Kings by Cat Jarmon. I don't know why Cat came out so weird. Cat Jarmon. This is a book that I was looking at in hardback, but I thought, no, I'm going to be good and wait for the paperback. This is a book about Vikings, so of course it was going to end up in my grubby little mitts. And it is about the kind of the Viking trading routes, and I was going to say routes like an American then, but nope, routes. Viking trading routes and all across their relationship with the Silk Road, and it looks like a really interesting look at a portion of Viking history that has been touched upon before, but not really fully explored. I don't think. I know nothing. Also, cover, freaking gorgeous. Teal and orange, blues and orange. Beautiful. Why am I still chucking my books on the floor? I'm hating myself every one I chuck on the floor. I'm not chucking, I'm kind of letting fall. There's no excuse. Next up, a copy of Merlin Sheldrake's Entangled Life. This looks really, really cool. A look at mushrooms and ecology of mushrooms, and bit psychedelic, bit cool, bit groovy. Was really intrigued by this one in hardback. My mate Annie, who works with books on natural history, had recommended this and said it was really good. It also won one of the Wainwright prizes, the 2 slots they did. It won one, I've forgotten what the other one was. English Pastoral? Oh, bubbles again. And what I'm really looking forward to about this one is, at Book Bag, one of the things that we do, I don't do it so much because I'm not the big music head, but we do playlists to go with books, and we're going to do one for this, all the psychedelic vibes, and also Merlin Sheldrake's brother, Cosmo. This is something a customer told me in the bookshop, so shout out to that customer. Merlin Sheldrake's brother Cosmo, so props to the parents for those namings, has done a piece of music that kind of went with it when it came out in the hardback, so I'm gonna check that out when I listen to it, and that'll be the beginning of a playlist, and that'll be cool and psychedelic, and maybe I'll feel high. Next up, a book that I'm feeling slightly bitter about. That's Sally Rooney's Beautiful World, Where Are You? I went in to town on Tuesday morning to pick up my pre-order copy. I was that bitch who went into the wrong branch of the shop to pick it up. And the week that it came out was the week that I was doing all the takeover stuff, and I was so busy, and I have not had a chance to read it yet. Well, I have had a chance now, and now I've got to the point where I'm like, I kind of don't want to, and that's really weird, and I'm really annoyed. So I'm feeling slightly bitter at this book, but it's not the book's fault, it's my fault, it's life's fault. I will eventually sit down and read it. I'm getting cramp in my hand. We all know what this book is, so I can put it down now. Then a copy of a book which was a kind of wonderful case of kismet. I saw it on @BookishChat's Instagram, where she said it was really good and recommended it, and I was like, oh, I think I'll pick up a copy of this. Walked into the bookshop that very same day for my shift, and it had arrived in the delivery, and that is Sugar by Bernice Mcfadden. Again, it's actually yellow. I don't know what's going on with the white balance, but actually every time I've said this and when I got it up on the computer, it looks the colour it's supposed to, so who knows what colour things are. This was, I think, originally published in the year 2000, and it's been picked up again. I'm not quite sure sure why, but I am here for it and happy to see it and gonna give this one a go. It seems to be everywhere at the moment. It's even in supermarkets. Who would have thunk? I don't know why that's a thing that I said, but sure. So check this one out if you're interested. I've told you nothing about it, but my brain's not working. Then I picked up a copy of Michaela Cole's Misfits, a Personal Manifesto. Now this is building on her McTaggart lecture. Always very interested to read little books that are based on lectures, and had a conversation with somebody about the whole manifesto versus lecture and the whole positioning of things as manifestos at the moment, because we've got Bernadine Evaristo's coming out with a manifesto as well, and whether that's a kind of why that new phenomenon seems to be a thing, going with manifestos rather than lectures. But anyway, Michaela Cole, absolutely loved I May Destroy You, and she recently won an Emmy, and she's bloody brilliant, and she dedicated that win to survivors of sexual assault, so she's just awesome, and excited to spend an hour or so reading this and see what this is like. Then I got myself a copy of Ellen Wile's Live Literature book, which is the book that we did the event for at Book Bag. Ellen Wiles was really, really erudite and really interesting. It was a really interesting talk on this book, and this promises to be a very interesting book. It's got a cover, and she spoke about this in her talk, it's got a cover that doesn't necessarily belie what it's in. It looks like a more academic book than she has actually written it, although it is off the back of her PhD studies into live literature and literature as performance and literature festivals and all of this. It is written as a kind of more first-person narrative, and it is much more approachable than that. I've already started reading it, and it's really very interesting, and I'm going to listen back to the talk because I was kind of working it, so my head wasn't fully in tune with it, but very much recommend this one, and if you're studying live literature or something like that, would recommend. Then I picked up a copy of a book that I saw on someone's shelves the other day and realised I don't actually have a copy and I've never actually read it, and that is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by what's-his-face, Robert M. Pirsig. It's one of these that a lot of people have read and is meant to be a classic and all of that, and I've just never got around to reading it, never even owned it, so yeah. Got that. Then I picked up a copy of a book that I don't really know why it's suddenly like on supermarket shelves again, because I thought it'd been out in paperback for a while, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's just a symptom of where we are all at, that this is what we need in our lives, and that's Darren Brown's Happy. Heard lots of things about this one. This is a book about sort of happiness and the meanings of happiness and the roots of happiness and all different philosophical thoughts on happiness. And yeah, just really intrigued. I like Darren Brown, and I'm intrigued to see how the illusionist, as it were, writes a book about happiness. So picked it up. Why not? No! They fell. The haphazard chucking stack has fallen. I especially don't know why I keep chucking them all on the floor, because then I've got to pick them all up again to do the bloody thumbnail. So I'm just making more work for myself. Why am I like this? Then I have done these out of order, which is making me itch slightly, but I'm just trying to go with it because, you know, I'm a new person. Same old bullshit. So, let's look at some of the Icelandic books that I picked up. Just a few that I added to my collection over my Icelandic Obsession Week. The first is Andrei Sne Magnusson's On Time and Water. This is a kind of ecological and philosophical book that's got a narrative thread through it as well, that is looking at ecology and icebergs. Obviously, Iceland has a relationship with glaciers and icebergs and also volcanoes, and it is looking at kind of climate change from this perspective. But as I say, there's also a narrative thread in there. Andrei Sne Magnusson is a very well established and very popular author in Iceland. He's won pretty much all the prizes going in pretty much every category, and I've been reading Love Star, which is one of his novels, which is weird as hell, and this promises to be really interesting, and I also really like the cover. Also, kind of acquisitions. Did you know, guys, the library's pretty great? I know loads of people use the library, and I used to use the library a lot more when I was a kid, but I think when I was working at the bookshop and I got a nice staff discount, I stopped borrowing books and bought books. So I recently went into the library, and that's where I got Maren Mazouf's Jokes for the Gunman, which I enjoyed and spoke about on my wrap-up, and I also got a copy of The Icelandic Adventures of Pike Ward. This is edited by Catherine Findlay. This is something that I talked about during my Icelandic takeover, so I'll do links below, but basically it's a link between Devon and Iceland. It's about a Devonian man called Pike Ward, and these are his diaries. He essentially went out to Iceland in the 19th century and kind of revolutionised their fishing industry. So it's a really cool link between Devon and Iceland, and Catherine rediscovered his diaries at the Devon Heritage Centre and edited them together, and I've been reading bits and bobs of them, and Pike Ward seems like a cool dude, and yeah, really cool link between Devon and Iceland. And the other Icelandic book that I got, what is with all the fluff today? The other Icelandic book that I got was Moon Country by Simon Armitage and Glyn Maxwell. Now this is kind of a companion follow-up book to W.H. Auden and Louis MacNeice's Letters from Iceland, which is when they went around Iceland in, what's the year? I always forget, 1937. They travelled around Iceland and kind of wrote letters to each other, letters to other people, there's poetry and stuff in there, and in 1994, Simon Armitage and Glyn Maxwell echoed the journey, and yeah, this has been out of print for a while, and I was really glad that I managed to find a secondhand copy. So that's exciting for me, if for no one else, which could be the title of my biography. Brooklyn Nine-Nine fans knew where I was going to go, and I bailed. And to keep the Icelandic theme going, the day after I finished that, I went to Tesco's to do some shopping, and I was looking for something in the alcohol section, and look what I found, but Icelandic vodka in Tesco's. So, that came home with me. I don't even really drink much vodka, but now when I do, it'll be Icelandic. It's a really satisfying noise. One more acquisition this month, which I'm really excited about for when I actually get to see people again and can try board games, and that is a little board game called Althingi. Now this is a game based on kind of the Viking Althingi, which is the kind of, what do you call it, sort of like council of Vikings and stuff, and it is still the name of the Icelandic government, the Althingi. This was something I kickstarted over lockdown, and it arrived the week before I started my Icelandic takeover, so it was all very serendipitous. Also, just because we're on the Vikings, and I don't think I've mentioned this dude yet, I got a ridiculous knee on Thor, because I'm a child. I have acquired an extreme hatred for seagulls that I kind of had to start with, but now they are nesting on my roof and waking me up with their screams at 6 o'clock every morning. I would gladly shoot them out the sky. Just this message brought to you by a seagull flying past my window and screaming. Sometimes I think they're screaming like, "We hate you!" Well, fuck you! And I scream it right back. I think the coffee's wearing off. That's what's happening. The coffees are wearing off. The coffees are going to Isengard. So this has been another episode of Loving Bullshit, brought to you by caffeine, racing the sun, and my weird brain. I'm gonna regret this whole video afterwards, aren't I? I'm gonna edit it and going, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you putting this on the internet? Why am I putting this on the internet? You're welcome. Thank you very much for watching. If you stuck with me this far in general on this channel, then I feel we are kindred spirits in some shape or form. But particularly these last two videos, thank you. I will be back at some point in the future, maybe in another month again, who knows, depends how time goes. But I will endeavour to be back before then, if anybody wants me. How many times can a person say I will be back without turning into Arnold Schwarzenegger is the question that I am apparently going some ways to answering in the recording of this. So, thanks very much for watching, as per the usual. Oh, I didn't say this last time, but as per the usual, have a little chat with me in the comments down below about these or any other books in general. Can't believe I didn't say that in the last one, it feels really weird, but never mind. Apply it also retroactively to the last video, please. Thank you very much. Good night. I will see you next time. I have been delirious. Have a good evening. All of that. Okay, just bye!